The second week of the second meeting of this session of Parliament has ended. This is the Chamber on Citi TV, where we bring you all you need to know about Parliament. My name is Mensah Opoku. Welcome. This is what you can call a truly interesting week in Parliament. The aftermath of the mass testing of MPs for COVID-19, as well as that of members of the parliamentary service staff, trickled in from last week into this week. Well, there is more in the recap. Parliament last week commenced mass testing for all MPs and members of staff of the parliamentary service for COVID-19. 690 persons were tested within the 3-day period. Addressing the House, the Speaker, Professor Michael Quay, indicated that not all persons within the precincts of the House had tested and added that sanctions may be applied to those who fail to test.
It is mandatory for every member of Parliament, every staff of Parliament, to test for COVID-19. The press corps must also submit themselves to testing. Honorables, further to the tests taken last week, it is imperative to inform that we should take this matter very seriously.
In response to reports that some MPs had tested positive for the disease, the leadership of the House addressed the press to dismiss such reports.
Nobody knows whether anybody has tested positive. The people who would know would be the perhaps those of them who did the test. So, just to emphasize the point that what that medium has done really amounts to nothing but speculation.
Acting Director of Public Affairs, Kate Addo, called for the retraction of the story.
We've taken all precautions to ensure that not only are members and staff safe, but all of us who come here either as journalists or visitors. And therefore, such reports tend to create fear and panic, and we would like to request that the respected station would retract and come to us. We are ready to give them whatever information we have, and if they have very concrete information, they would put out their sources so that we'll all have our peace of mind.
The Clerk of Parliament, Cyril Nsia, outlined the modalities for the continuous testing for COVID-19 in the House.
I would like to invite all of you who intend to continue coming to the House and to cover proceedings of the House to come for on Thursday and Friday. Testing is being arranged. Testing is continuing. So anybody who has not been tested but comes into the premises here, whether you are a staff of Parliament, a member of Parliament, a person from the media, you are required to be tested so that you can continue to come here.
But in an interaction with the media, the Asawasi MP called out the leadership of the House for telling lies to the public.
The testing was done Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. As I yesterday in the morning this time, the result for Wednesday, Thursday had come. And those that had tested positive had been isolated.
And the leadership of Parliament is aware.
It's very much aware. We are very much aware. Yes. And that was why Speaker was to repeat the announcement for Thursday. No, because remember the identity is left to negotiate.
Okay. Are you afraid of any consequences? What consequences? Because this many say this amounts to betrayal of the leadership of Parliament.
There's no any betrayal, because if we all had agreed, this is how we will communicate. That's why you talk about betrayal. But we've not agreed on anything. One person decided to go and do it his own. And how do you make one person's decision the collective? It is majority's decision to go and do the announcement. He didn't consult anybody. And he's wrong. And he lied.
On the floor, Nabdam MP Dr. Ket Nawani made a statement on stigmatization associated with COVID-19. Some MPs, in deliberating on the statement, made remarks about the House's own handling of the results from the mass testing exercise last week.
It doesn't help anybody if we keep on denying such things. It is not right. You can say, yes, they were positive tests. People tested positive. You have not mentioned the name. But I don't even see the problem about mentioning the name, because in the end, only one Ghanaian official, and that is the High Commissioner to the UK, who was publicly told tested positive and was even admitted. Today he has recovered. Should we shun him if he comes to Ghana? No.
We must show leadership. And I must say that I have not been happy at all over the last 24 hours with the way we have managed the information from Parliament's testing. And I hope that, Mr. Speaker,
you are a member of a caucus. If you have any suggestions to make, let the suggestions read your leadership.
It is not compulsory to mention the name of anybody who tests positive. In fact, every name you hear in this world who is positive came out to voluntarily mention themselves as being positive, as a way of encouraging others to test or to take care of themselves. Our own mission in the UK came out to announce that our colleague and brother Papa was positive. Remember, he had given his consent before such a thing came out. Immediately you speculate that a particular institution has positive cases, when those involved, should there be any, have not given consent, you are on a path that can lead to more fear and more anxiety in the population. It is not something that should be encouraged.
The Speaker implored members and the media not to publish the identity of persons who test positive for COVID-19 in a bid to stop fueling stigmatization.
It's very clear from our discussions this morning that you cannot unilaterally put into the public realm that a person is positive. Let everybody know this. Let every lady and gentleman, every person know this in this republic. And it has been well stated in this honorable house. You cannot unilaterally put in the public realm that a person is positive. It is only for an individual to voluntarily put this in the public realm. And we are all learning from this as decent and honorable people.
The Central Bank Governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, at the Monetary Policy Committee meeting this month, announced that the Bank of Ghana would advance 10 billion Ghana cedis to government to deal with the economic challenges with the coronavirus pandemic. The Finance Minister was in Parliament on Thursday to trigger the relevant statutory provisions. He explained government's action to the House.
The Minister of Finance, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, and the Comptroller and Accountant General, as required under Section 30 of the Bank of Ghana Act 202, Act 6.2, as amended, have agreed to trigger the emergency financing provisions under the law, which permits increasing the limit on the purchase of government securities by Bank of Ghana in the event of an emergency to help financial residual expenditures. Mr. Speaker, government therefore decided to launch a special COVID-19 relief bond program of the size of Ghana cedis 10 billion.
He also announced that the ministry was putting together a 3-year recovery plan to revitalize the economy after the pandemic. But the minority says government is up to no good and thus will resist this move. Kesela Toforsen is the ranking member on the Finance Committee.
Parliament should not allow the Ministry of Finance to print an amount of 10 billion Ghana cedis. This is something that we want to put on record, where we members of the minority will resist this because we think they are only using it to finance election promises.
The minority has consistently been on a crusade to get the officials of the Electoral Commission to appear in the House to answer questions on the upcoming elections. The matter was raised on the floor of the House again by Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak.
Last week and
on several occasions, the issue of getting the chairperson of the electoral commission to come and brief the House keeps coming. He keeps giving the assurance that it will happen. And looking at the business statement, they still not made provision for the chair of the electoral commission to still come to the House. When does he think it may be possible for the chair to appear before the House to brief the House on the activities of the electoral commission?
In response to their concern, the majority leader briefed the House on the latest regarding the summoning of the officials of Electoral Commission.
Speaker, the commissioners have programs to fan out to various regions in the country to undertake some assignments. They have given an indication to us that they will be back to Accra on the 15th, and accordingly they will be able to avail themselves on the 16th. I thought that would be too distant a date from now, given what issues that are coming up for consideration. So I'm strongly urging them to avail themselves on the 9th, that is the week before their own declared date to be available in the House. We've not been able to sort it out yet, even though I'm strongly pressing that they should be here on that day.
Member of Parliament for Mensah Opoku, Frimpong Ado, brought up the issue of incessant armed robberies in his constituency and the need for authorities to tackle it.
It is in my considered opinion that the district really needs a Marshall Plan in its security arrangements, and therefore call on the Ministers of Interior, National Security, Minister of Defense, and the IGP to pool all resources to contain the situation before it gets out of hand. Again, Mr. Speaker, one factor that facilitates the constant robberies is the bad nature of roads in the constituency. One can hardly do 20 kilometers per hour on our roads, which makes it so difficult for the few police personnel to proceed to robbery spots when called to duty.
I know you have your own opinions about the various issues that transpired in the course of the week as captured by the recap. But there's more when we come back from this break. Hello, welcome back from the break. This is the From the Floor segment right here on the Chamber on Citi TV. I have with me two honorable members of Parliament, obviously one from the minority, the other from the majority, and they would be helping us discuss the major issues emanating from Parliament this week. I have with me the Honorable William Sebi, MP for Doma East and Deputy Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And the Honorable Bashir Al-Hassan Fuseni, the Honorable ABA Fuseni, Member of Parliament for Sagnarigu, Ranking Member on the Communications Committee of Parliament. Welcome, sir. Okay, so the major talking point this week in Parliament has actually got to do with the COVID-19 testing, which occurred, mass testing, which started last week, Wednesday to Friday. This week, the team is also in Parliament from yesterday and even up until today, which is Friday, and they are still testing. But the major issue has got to do with how some say the results have been managed or mismanaged. There was a story this week that emanated from an online portal that some members of Parliament and some members of the parliamentary service staff had tested positive. The leadership of Parliament debunked the story. Later, the minority chief whip came to insist and confirm that indeed that is true. Let's look at the mass testing exercise in Parliament. And of course, Honorable Sebi, you have a public health background. The testing and the protocols around its announcement. Should it be a big deal of the institution of Parliament talking about the results of its own members who have been tested for COVID-19?
Thank you very much and greetings to your viewers. In the first place, let me talk from a public health point of view. In public health, when there is an outbreak of this nature, we first of all like to know where we have the disease occurring, and it helps in managing the conditions, because that will determine the kind of strategies to be put in place. If there is the disease is is found to be present at a particular place, especially when we know it's contagious, then we know how to deal with it. So for me, and government has been doing it in the general public. People have been tested, and those that have tested positive, they have even done what we call contact tracing. They have gone as far as to trace even people from different towns and homes from where the first patient was actually seen. So it is, for me, it is usual and normal that we are doing testing for parliamentarians and their staff, especially because of the nature of our work. We are almost all the time interacting with other people. So what it means is that if a member has contracted the disease, it is very possible, in fact highly possible, to be able to spread it to other people because of the work we do. And also for our staff, who are also with us all the time. We are always interacting with them. So it's good. For me, it is not unusual in any way that parliamentarians should be tested. In fact, I remember this thing happened during the testing, one station interviewed me. And I said that it is even, we are setting a good example, so that if it becomes necessary that all workers or anybody anywhere should be tested, we will have been used as an example that we have gone through the testing. So back to your question, I think that it is okay that we are doing it, and it is for our own good. This is because we know COVID-19 as it is, and it can be treated. So, but the problem is, if you don't even know your status, there's no way you can then come out, or there's no way the health personnel will then go into providing treatment.
But because you are members of parliament, because you are people in the public, because you are examples in the community, and because of the issues of stigma that all of us want addressed, the argument of some, including some of your colleagues, is that these results should be made public. What's your own take on that?
For me, if I should still take it today, in health service delivery, we have what we call confidentiality. If I have to conduct a test on a client, or you have to perform any procedure or treatment, give any treatment to a client, it is between the professional giving the treatment and the client. It doesn't have to go out to another person, no matter the situation. So that even when it becomes necessary that somebody should come in, we usually seek what we call consent form. You see the consent of the patient or the client before you can divulge information to a second person.
Okay, but some have said that, I mean, the British Prime Minister, when he tested positive, was put out there. The Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, when he tested positive, was put out there. Even a High Commissioner in UK, when he tested positive, was put out there. Why should members of parliament in Ghana be different?
You realize that if you read further into it, they themselves even came out, the people you have mentioned, they themselves even came out to say it, that they've been tested positive. You see, the patient or the client himself or herself has the right to divulge that information to another person, but not the one offering the service. Because if you realize that in the protocols we had, in fact before that the test results is going to be confidential. So I don't have a problem if a particular member wants to tell the general public about his or her results. But I will not support that the
Parliament
becomes something like a news that we are giving out there, that this number of people in parliament, this parliamentarian has this condition. I don't think that is good enough.
Okay, let me come to the Honorable A.B.A. Fuseni. You are a communications person, a journalist of so many years standing in experience and repute. Some say this has got to do with information management and the image of parliament. This back and forth about it is true, it is not true, what the story from that media house, come and retract it, and then your leader, Honorable Muntaka, comes to confirm that indeed there are some MPs who have tested positive, and there are some members of the parliamentary staff who are actually positive. What do you make about all of these issues going around?
Yeah, let me say good afternoon to your viewers. I said, excuse me too, so I can talk better. I honestly want to, first and foremost, differ a bit from my honorable colleague and agree with him on some latter aspects of some of the things that he said. Honestly, from the national perspective, I am not satisfied with the way we have handled this COVID-19 thing, just even in terms of the testing regime and the management of information. I'm sure before we came to this daily thing, you can recall that we used to have many days, sometimes weeks, before you get an update. And mostly, sometimes some of them have to await even the announcement of His Excellency the President.
But now it's twice, at least every day there's a particular time.
That's why I'm coming to. I'm shaving you, don't touch your head. You see, and that one did not augur well for transparency, because many people, and in fact, you even have heard health experts indicate that the manner in which the information was managed lent credence to allegations that the figures were being massaged. And that, contrary to best practices that are happening in the world, where the releases are coming on a regular basis, so that you can ascertain that as soon as the tests are conducted and the results are known, they are released, so that nobody is seen to be taking custody of the figures and releasing them as and when the person pleases. So we have graduated since to this announcement. And I thought that, look, one of the tests is that we should have left it purely to the technocrats.
I see.
To handle it. Because in pandemic like this, not only are they equipped with the requisite knowledge, but they are better trusted than the politicians. If you allow politicians to handle the information and others, the tendency to want to look good in the management of the team is there. And so the possibility of tampering with it or managing it is there. And so I thought that would have left it at that level.
Let's come to Parliament.
And sure, yeah. Now this thing you are talking about, Parliament, I also saw that there was a very poor communication on this matter. If as it has been said, some tests were conducted on members of Parliament, people obviously will be eager to hear the results. So if it was indicated that some had tested positive, the thing to do, and that's where I agree with some part of the decision my colleague said, you need to have a very careful balance of the interest of the client confidentiality thing you are talking about, and your duties as a member of Parliament answerable to your people. So that is where I say a balance should come in. You could have just indicated that, look, tests have been done. There were 2 cases of positive. Finish. Okay? Of course, you didn't need to name individual MPs who are involved. And I think that level of information should be kept. But you just needed to indicate that, look, this thing had been done. All members of Parliament are undergoing test. And as and when the results come, whatever it is, we make it available. So you announce 2. What has been done so far, 2 have tested positive. So
for you didn't have to take the minority chief whip coming to deny or coming to call out the leadership of Parliament
the credibility of Parliament as an institution will be called to question. Because see, the reporter from subsequent decision indicated that he stood by
this reportage.
His story, and that the contacts were credible. The sources that he got the information from were credible. And so when you have this kind of thing coming, and you don't manage the information well, and you come out to deny, when it is obvious that it is true, it will put your credibility at stake. So I didn't see any reason why the Public Affairs Department would have come up with a denial on this matter. They would have said, look, tests have been done. Yes, 2 cases have come up.
But some say this is something, even though members of Parliament are, of course, public officials and all of that, they also must have a certain level of confidentiality.
Yes, and that is
what within the institution of Parliament.
That is exactly why I'm saying that you don't name names. Okay? It is just enough when that information
to just give out the numbers and then that's it.
Are there, but I insist that yes, don't give names or particulars of individual MPs involved, because like I said, apart from the confidentiality issue, when you compare, I heard you say making reference to the British Prime Minister,
yes,
and some other
Prince
people.
Wales, yes.
They have a developed culture. In their culture, they accept. They don't stigmatize. They see it as any ordinary disease anybody can be afflicted with, and that it is a disease you can go again and get treatment and recover. So it doesn't have to be a stigma. But in our society here, it is a stigma.
When some of them are contesting primaries.
Exactly. So you see, like in some instances, somebody trying to use it against a colleague, against a member of parliament.
Yes, that's true.
So you see the stigmatization that we are talking about. So this is a very dishonorable motive that something like that can happen, and then you would turn down, because even the person who is seeking to use it, for all you know, maybe has not even tested.
Yeah.
So how do you know that you don't have it, and you want to use it against your colleague member of parliament?
Okay.
And so I think that while the information broadly could have been made available, you needed to protect certain aspects of it in the public interest and in the interest.
So you should have struck a fine balance between confidentiality and the public interest,
and then your duty and the answerability,
accountability
to the people.
Just to make an input, you realize that even as he said in the developed culture that he's preferring, as he mentioned, when you mentioned like prime minister and of this one, it is not everybody who tested positive whose name came out. They will say this number of people have tested positive, but they don't say this person or that person or people from this area of working class or group have tested positive or negative. Because the moment Parliament is a well-known place, everybody knows that this is the Parliament. That's the only place. So when you say it is this the Parliament, it's obvious that you know. For me, maybe because of my background, I don't have any problem seeing that we have done a test and somebody has been found positive. For me, it is even a good thing because that person can then be isolated and be given treatment instead of allowing the person to continue to be spreading the disease to the rest. But what he's saying and what I'm trying to also agree with him is that you don't need to be saying this person or that person.
So the identity should be hidden.
Yes.
But he's saying he agrees on the point that the identity should be hidden.
Yes.
But the numbers should be put out.
The number,
which is what you disagree with.
But numbers should be put up is who should put the number up?
The institution of Parliament.
It shouldn't make it look like an individual going to give information somewhere. That is why he said we have our channel of communication here. We have people with responsibilities. Indeed, we have our health department here.
Yes, a medical director.
We have a medical director here. We have a hospital here, and so if something of that nature should go out, I would have expected that it should be something between the public affairs and maybe the health professionals here, and then they will know how to come out with. And that is where I would disagree with you that initially when the information was coming out from government, he said maybe people may lose credibility. It may lose credibility, or people may doubt what they are bringing out. It is not. It is all because of some of these undertones. You have to know that you don't cause some kind of panic in the system. The way the information comes out. At the same time, it has to be delivered professionally, so that we also know that we are not divulging information that shouldn't actually have gone out. So the fact that the information or the data on the test results were going through certain procedures did not necessarily mean that somebody was trying to massage the data, but that it will come out in a way that it should be such that the public is not put into fear.
Subsequent to that,
I just thought that the initial error was what caused all this problem, because the public affairs department should have just been above board and indicated that this is what it was.
But Honorable, somebody had already given the information.
No,
what the public affairs came out
was a reaction to a leaked story.
Yes, so I'm saying that somebody gave an interview. A journalist reported based on
based on the sources. Yes.
Then the public affairs, they had the duty to react.
Yes, and say that story should be retracted.
Exactly, and they should have just indicated that look, this is the report, and left it there. That would have not even generated much controversy. But I'm adding to what my colleague says. You see, we are in a very unsophisticated political environment, and the reason why we need to protect these other identities is that look, even from any mischievous person can just go and mention anybody as a member of parliament.
Yes, I have seen some MPs come out this week to debunk.
You see,
issue statements that they are negative.
Some pictures of people
because people being paraded around as the MPs who have tested positive.
The reports are not true.
Yes,
but once they put this in the public domain, before you are able to defend yourself and extricate yourself from that problem, you have been
very, very, very difficult.
And now, the of the stigma we are talking about, is where the problem is.
Now, subsequent to that, there are some of your colleagues, MPs, again, who are saying that at least because of these numbers, allegedly, whether true or not, Parliament should be shut down at least for 2 weeks, the chamber disinfected, all members who are seen to have or who have tested positive, the institution knows, isolated treatment, 2 weeks, the House comes back into session. Laudable idea, isn't it, Honorable?
It depends on why 2 weeks, which number of days. I don't know who recommended.
14 days, because of the 14-day incubation.
The 14-day incubation is for somebody who has contracted the disease.
Okay.
So that by the end of 14 days, he may be asymptomatic at a particular time. But we know that usually after 14 days, the person will have started showing symptoms. Maybe that is why the 14 days.
Yes, that's the rationale behind that. So that if people have, by coming into contact with some of these persons, they begin to show symptoms, they can also be, contact tracing and other things will be done.
That is, we have to look at it from another point of view.
Okay.
If we don't know, if it is true that 2 of our colleagues have actually contracted it and they are with us, we don't know the people they have already
mingled
with. And giving us a break means people should go home.
Yeah.
When they also go, if they have actually been infected, then they're also going to spread the infection wherever they are.
But they are not just going home. They are going to be mandatorily quarantined, or they are going home into self-quarantine or self-isolation.
Unless they say they are quarantined, they want everyone to go into quarantine.
Because,
in that case,
not to catch you, but there's precedence. Before the House went on recess, at least 5 MPs who had just returned from abroad before the borders were closed, and 10 members of the parliamentary service staff who had returned from various courses abroad were asked by the Speaker to mandatorily be in self-quarantine for 2 weeks. So it's the same measure that they are suggesting, that because of the results of the testing, whether true or not, the House should be shut down for at least 2 weeks, disinfect the chamber, fumigate around, and let people mandatorily isolate themselves.
Here is a case we've not been able to authenticate this information.
Okay.
If it is really, is it confirmed that truly some people have tested positive? If it is so, we have our health department. The medical superintendent should be able to advise
Parliament.
Leadership of Parliament that they will be able to do. But I don't think we should be speculating and be taking decisions based upon speculations.
All right.
Dukes, I respectfully differ from my honorable colleague, because I think even subsequent information from the Public Affairs Department seem to confirm the issue of the earlier story that had been put up.
Well, now is the word of the Honorable Muntaka against that.
So clearly, when you have this kind of situation at hand, and this is not a matter you should take lightly or a matter you should trifle with. So once it had been indicated that this is in the midst of members of Parliament, and my brother, you can testify to, there's no social distancing in Parliament here.
That's true.
In the chamber, there's no social distancing. So it's one of the protocols that are most brazenly violated, even in this House. So in such a situation, the wisest thing to do is to take a break and indicate to all members of Parliament to undertake a voluntary quarantine. And even before that, we are all doing tests now. So even before that break comes, all of us would have tested. And it would have been possible to have a clear idea of a total picture of the situation of COVID-19 in Parliament. So that since with that information, it is possible for the leadership and the leadership of the House to take a definitive position on the matter.
I see.
And so that once we are all out there and we all know all this and you undergo voluntary quarantine, and whoever has to go and see whatever treatment gets it, we are all safe from there. Our families will then be safer, and all of us will get home knowing the true status of each member of Parliament. So that would be very, very helpful. But unfortunately, I know my colleague may disagree with me.
He has already disagreed with
There are underlying political reasons.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Do you think this is for
underlying political reasons?
How so?
Yeah, I'm just indicating to you. One of the things is that if we break now and go, the constitutional instrument 126, which is supposed to pass and allow the electoral commission to go and do a new voters register, will not mature.
Which is the next issue? We'll come to the voters register.
It will not mature.
He says that's the motive for of the majority.
I disagree with him. He knew he was raising an issue that I shouldn't agree. That is why he expected me.
But is it true that your side is pushing for the House not to be shut down because the CI has to mature?
I don't think the CI is more important than the lives of parliamentarians.
Yes. So let's adjourn.
And nobody will take that one over the life of parliamentarians. But I continue to say that the information you have is speculation. You yourself, if you said the public affairs information release, seem to, which means that it's not confirmed. Now, if we want to take major decisions of this nature, we cannot be saying that, oh, we hear something like, or it looks like.
So we can't take what Honorable Muntaka has said as a confirmation.
Who gave you? What is the source of this information?
Honorable Muntaka,
in what capacity?
He's minority chief whip.
He's not a spokesperson on our health.
No,
and he's not a spokesperson.
He doesn't need to be a spokesperson.
He doesn't. Where did he get the data from? He's not part of the team that did the test. Do you get it?
But he's part of leadership of Parliament.
Let me say, even the Speaker of Parliament is not part of the test. Those who did the test. So experts or a team came to do the test. We are waiting for the results from that expert team.
No.
Some MPs have said that they have been called to be told that they are negative, which means that
the results were brought, respectful, honorable. When the results were brought, they communicated the results to the leadership.
And you can say this on authority.
Yes. It was communicated from the health directorate to the leadership. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker knows about the current situation.
How do you confirm?
Is it conceivable that Mr. Speaker will ask you to go and do order that tests should be done? The tests are done and he's not informed about the results. Can you
because the protocol may suggest that you inform people individually and not the institution. So
no, because
that's possible.
The institution must have a general idea first and foremost.
That's possible.
What was the picture?
No, what
when
I'm
you
saying
went for the
is,
test, what happened?
Sorry,
Mr. Speaker ordered the test.
I am not saying that
so
Speaker
they know.
shouldn't know the results.
Yes.
But what I know is that if there should be a communication of this nature, there's an official way of doing it. So if somebody says he has heard something from somewhere, and he comes to say that Parliament cannot take a decision on
based on what that one person has said.
Yes. So there should, some Speaker officially ordered or requested for the test.
We should wait for the Speaker.
I believe very much that officially the results will also be communicated to the Speaker.
And the Speaker
or to the leadership.
Right.
So one person,
do you think that if
one person cannot come and say that, okay, I have heard this, or I've seen it somewhere.
This is not just a one person. He's a leader. He's a member of the leadership.
He's a leader. Does it mean that he alone was giving the results without the rest of the leadership?
No, it can be given to all of them, but he decided to make it public.
No, he's not the only one forming leadership.
You see,
there is no leader amongst them who would say that CI is more important than the lives of MPs.
Okay.
So why is it that he is the only one coming out to say that it is this?
I thought that if Honorable Muntaka had lied, by now Mr. Speaker would have taken concrete action.
Privileges committee?
Exactly, to tell him that, look, this information is not even true.
So once the Speaker has not debunked it, it means it's true.
The situation has not always been that as soon as you do something, immediately.
Because I'm sure because the public affairs had spoken and said they need to protect them.
Gentlemen, let's move to another situation, another issue which is also, closely linked with Corona, and it will have an impact on your political fortunes as well, because you are members of Parliament, and if a new register is put in place, of course you'll be involved in the very exercise of registering people, and then it will be used to determine whether you come back to this house or not. The Electoral Commission, after an IPAC meeting this week, which was boycotted by Honorable ABS Group, the NDC, have rolled out modalities that they are starting end of June to end of July, last week June to the end of July. And they have rolled out elaborate measures amidst the COVID-19 to ensure that it's done taking all the precautions and the protocols. But some have said, and you are Deputy Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation. The NIA is under your office. You supervise them. And the NIA has also been part of this controversy. So I'm sure you'll be able to give us some good insights. This part that the Electoral Commission is it one that is justified in your view?
I think you've combined about 2 or 3 things. So
yes.
I have to disaggregate before.
All right, no problem.
I can come there to give you a direct answer. The first one is, I think let's find out whether, I think the need to have a new voters register, there have been a lot of controversies here and there, but in the end it has been justified, and therefore there's a need to have a voters register. that if we need to have a new voters register, then we all know the procedure that the EC goes through to develop a new register. What has become a bit different in this situation is the fact that we are not in normal times, as we all have been saying. And because we are not in normal times, we also have to live with the new normality, as if I should call it.
Yeah.
So the EC has come out with means of ensuring that even though things are not the way we know all the time, there's a different development now. And therefore, they are also coming up with the ways of mitigating the effect of the new situation. So for me, if you ask me whether it is right or justifiable that they do, I would say it is right, because we need a voters register. Because both sides, whether majority or minority, have agreed that they need to have the December
They disagree.
7.
The minority disagree.
No, the December 7 election.
Of course, the election, yes.
We have all agreed that there's a need to have the elections. And I don't think any of us will also want any elections that is not credible. And the Electoral Commission, which is the commission mandated by Constitution to handle our elections, have said that the register they have now, they have their doubts, and therefore they want to have a credible. I think we have gone past this stage. So the level that we have reached as of now is how they are able to come out with a credible voters register for us to use, so that when we have the elections, everybody will be satisfied with the results. And that is, so what they have rolled out, what they have come out with, are measures to be put in place to ensure that despite COVID-19 pandemic, they are able to do a voters register without hitches. So for now, if you ask me whether what they are doing is okay or is right or whatever, I'll say for me it's right, because under the circumstance, that's what they are supposed to do. I am not the one to determine, or I'm sorry to say, I'm not marking their performance to grade them or rate them at any particular level. But that within their limits and within their own wisdom, they realize that this is how they can rate. So far, I have not seen anybody raising objection as to the measures they have put in place. So it means it is generally acceptable.
Okay.
When you come with NIA in relation to, that's what I'm saying, I need to disaggregate the issues. The NIA has come in because of the CI my colleague referred to. Because if it passes through, the requirements for registration is the national identification card. The argument has been not everybody who is eligible voter has the Ghana card. So what I want to assure the general public is that just as EC has ruled out strategies to ensure that they will be able to do voter register in a way that there will be no hinges, the NIA has also put in place strategy that will come out officially to also ensure that nobody is left out or nobody has any hinges just because he doesn't have.
So is there a possibility that alongside registering for the voters, the new voters register, there will also be NIA card registration going on?
In fact, we will even start before the Electoral Commission.
Really?
Yes.
You continue with what was being done in the Eastern region?
Yes,
that's where they want to go.
And go back to all the other regions again.
Wow. So as we speak now, there's no program for the other regions.
Okay.
There's a program. I'm coming from the office. You see, I'm coming from the office. I'm telling you that there is excuse me to say, just a second. We will finish the Eastern region. There's a mop-up in every other region in the country.
So you will go back
and
to...
we will start before Electoral
You will do the registration before the Electoral Commission rules out.
In fact, at some places, it may be going alongside. But we will start before Electoral Commission.
All right. Honorable Ebie,
first and foremost, if something ain't broken, why fix it? What's wrong with the current register?
The Electoral Commission says they are not comfortable with it. They can't work with it.
Let me just give you an indication.
They say they can't deliver a credible election with it.
The president under whose auspices this thing is being, the new registration is being touted. How was he elected?
With the old register.
So if you let's take the argument of the MPP. If the old register is discredited, is President Akufo-Addo a credible president? Because you cannot get a discredited register bringing forth a credible president. So is it their argument that President Akufo-Addo is a discredited president.
The ones in charge now say they don't think they can deliver a credible election.
I'm doing that analogy. If they agree that the old register, the current register is discredited, are we by extension saying that we have a discredited president?
It may have been credible. It may have been credible then, but it's not credible now. Times change.
What has changed from that time that you reflected?
They say that some of the equipment has gone obsolete. They can't use some of those equipment.
Data and equipment, and that's where the confusion is in their minds.
Can I come in?
Yes, I just honestly.
I can give you that, but I just wanted to
let me make my point. So up initio, it's a flawed argument. This same register, in fact, if there's a register that is more credible, if there's an instrument that is more credible than anything, in fact, this register is more credible than the character of the letter, those handling the letter commission today.
Oh, no, that's not fair.
I'm telling you, and I'm going to prove it. I will give you evidence. I won't say anything for nothing. Look, this is a register that we used to elect 2 presidents. President Mahama before and President Akufo-Addo. Okay? We use it to create 6 new regions
in a
referendum. We use it to elect 275 members of parliament, including my honorable colleague and myself here. So even if we are discrediting the register, let's be careful. We are discrediting our presence here in parliament. Me and him. That we came through a discredited process, through a bogus register. Is that what he's saying? And that his mandate here is bogus.
The EC has rolled out modalities. They will not work.
We use it to elect thousands of assemblymen and unit committee members. We use it for a by-election. This is the most credible register in the history of our country. Okay? And the credibility of the destiny is not in doubt. Measure it against.
It can be made more credible.
Wait, measure it against the conduct of the EC officials, Madam Jean Mensah and Bossman. Measure it against their conduct. So if you are indicting this current register, we must be prepared to indict ourselves and say that even our mandate here is bogus.
Okay. To the matter of the for want of time, to the matter of the
I'm talking about the competence of the electoral commission, and that's why I said that this register is more credible than Jean Mensah and Bossman put together. Because if you see what this register has done,
I think that's unfair.
Look, these are people who cannot even craft. Their competence level does not even allow them to craft a CI, common constitutional instrument.
Let's look at the modalities for the registration.
I'm saying that they have brought 3 CIs here to this parliament. The first 2 were so incompetently crafted, they would throw parliament threw it away in their face. They cannot even craft a CI. Okay? Look, these were people who came and told Ghanaians that they were going to start their registration on the 18th of April. Am I lying? You are aware what has happened?
COVID.
Even as we speak today,
COVID-19.
The equipment that they want to use for the registration is not in the country. And Dukes, I'm challenging you from here. Take your camera and go and meet Jean Mensah and tell her that the minority is saying that the equipment that we are going to use for election is not here. You want to prove the minority wrong. They should give you the distance to go and film the equipment.
Okay.
It's not there.
All right.
Look, when
for want of time.
Nebulous statement. Look at the statement they made by the end of June. What statement is that? End of June, it means what?
Because the CR has not matured, so they can't give a definite date.
Is maturing at the end of this.
On the 5th of June, yes.
When it is maturing.
But once it has not matured, they can't.
Before the end
it will mature on the 5th of June if everything goes as planned.
No, it's maturing, I think, on the 1st or 2nd. Okay? So I am telling you that they know. But I'm saying that they are mischievously latching on to the fact that the electoral commission's competence is at stake. They have demonstrated crass incompetence.
So for you, they can't roll out these protocols.
And I'm just indicating to you, Jake, let me ask my honorable colleague. Will he be happy if even one constituent of his cannot have his name or her name featured in the voters register to register? No single Ghanaian must have his birthright to be featured in the register to vote taken away by a legislation. The Constitution of the Republic gives 3 conditions under which Ghanaians can feature in the voters register. We say 1, you must be a Ghanaian. 2, you must be 18 years and above. 3, you must be a sound man. Nobody has any right to make any legislation to come and take away a constitutional provision.
Okay.
It's improper.
So it's for you won't support, of course. That's why the NDC has gone to court.
Even beyond going to court. Look, I'm just saying that, just ask yourself a simple question. Why does the NPP has gone into an unholy alliance with the NIA and the Electoral Commission?
His ministry supervises the NIA.
Yes, I mean, it's under the president. It's under the office of the president. Yeah. And the president is MPP. So, I mean, you know that. You don't need to be told. So the NIA takes instructions from the president. That is clear. Can I take what takes instructions from the president? He works under the direction of the president.
But the EC is independent.
And I'm saying that the EC is supposed to be independent.
They are independent. The constitution created them as an independent body.
Not independent. And I'm telling you why. You were here in this country. When even the referendum that the EC was supposed to conduct, the president put the platform there. They couldn't say anything. Nothing. The toothless EC. This is the most spineless EC that we have.
All right. Honorable
And I'm saying that because they cannot stand their ground and do what is right and proper.
All right.
In this particular matter, why will an electoral commission be in a hurry to disenfranchise millions of Ghanaians? It is the duty of the electoral commission and the chairperson at every stage to ensure that more and more Ghanaians are featured onto the vote.
Okay, I wish we could continue the conversation, but time is not on our side. I wish I could even allow you to react to your
I don't react to this, that would
you see, but I also didn't react to what
it is very unfair. It will be very unfair for him to say that because this is an institution under my nose. So if things are being said,
be happy if you allow you to
even
react,
and give me the opportunity
to also react.
Time will not allow us. So just a minute each for your wrapping up comments.
Yes. Just one thing I want him, maybe if you need to know, Honorable, if you need to know is that we have had to compare different registers at different times within this the Republic. We have never said that all those who were elected using the previous register
are discredited.
So if it is happening this time, it's just as it has been happening. And we've been doing different ones because we find faults with the existing one and we improve. Anytime in the life of our democracy, we want to improve upon what we were doing. Remember, we were using voters register that were not colored, a voter card that were not colored.
We started with having pictures.
There was not even pictures. We came with pictures. But we never said anybody who was elected with the voters ID card that did not have pictures shouldn't be seen as credible or whatever. What we need to do is, what you have identified as being wrong should be corrected. And that's what we are doing.
Okay.
The fact that an institution is under the presidency does not mean that it is not credible. In fact, it even adds to its credibility.
Okay.
Because the president, the presidency
you have the last word on this.
So that the honorable minister himself is here.
You have the last word.
He himself will testify that the NIA hasn't covered even 1/3 of Ghanaians.
That is not true.
He says the roll out. He says the roll out. Okay, so that's how we wrap up. I had with me the Honorable William Sebi, who is MP for Doma East, Deputy Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, and the Honorable Member for Sagnarugu, Honorable ABF Husseini. We'll be back after this break. This is the Chamber. Hello and welcome back from the break. This is Duke's View, where I get to share my sentiments on the major issues that have unfolded in Parliament in the course of the week under review. This week, the major issue has got to do with the mass testing of members of Parliament and parliamentary service staff, as ordered by the Speaker on the order of the Parliamentary Service Board. Results started trickling in. Some persons were called with their results either positive or negative. That has been the subject of controversy, the subplot around all of the discussions around coronavirus pandemic in the country this week. And I have a couple of views to share on this matter. First and foremost, I think that for 690 people to have been tested in Parliament, even per the simple mathematical rule of probability, it's not out of the ordinary or out of the blue that you would have a few of them testing positive for a community that is as large as that of the parliamentary community, having 690 persons testing. But it's about the management of the information. I think that for a media house to have leaked information about the results, and for the house to have denied, and for a member of the leadership of Parliament to come out in defiance, or as some will say, in betrayal of the official position of the house, shows that the information was not managed quite well. I mean, Parliament could have just said that we cannot authenticate the information that is being put out there. But for Parliament to flatly deny and have one of the leaders of Parliament come to say that, I think it does not augur well for the brand and image of Parliament and for transparency and the integrity that we preach that Parliament must have. That's not to say that I believe what Honorable Muntaka is saying or that of what Parliament is saying. But It's just that the sheer inconsistency and contradiction in the very leadership of the institution of Parliament is what leaves much to be desired, and is what calls for a lot of bashing, in my view. I think this could have been handled in a much, much better manner. And just for the interest of knowing, we are not saying that put out the identity, but for the purposes of planning and for the purposes of decision making and for the purposes of declaring for the general public to know, I think the numbers should be put out. Not the identities, of course. The identity that breaches, patient, doctor confidentiality and health service provider confidentiality. So the identities, of course, nobody should make the effort to put out the identities of parliamentary service staff or members of parliament who may have tested positive. We are all trying as much as possible to join the bandwagon that is against stigmatization associated with COVID-19. But I think there will be nothing wrong with putting the numbers out and having Parliament shut down for a number of days, 14-day period, disinfect the whole place, let people be on mandatory quarantine, so that the institution can have a fair grasp or a firm grasp of the challenges associated with an outbreak of the pandemic within the parliamentary enclave, and then get back the House together to be able to discharge its functions as normally. I don't think that will take anything away from Parliament. It will not. I think it's just the best possible way to handle these issues. The numbers should be put out, not necessarily the identities. And if that is the case, that indeed some persons have tested positive, everybody who works within this enclave should be mandatorily quarantined. And the House disinfected and fumigated, and those who have tested positive isolated, in the interest of public health, in the interest of the image and transparency of the House. This is my view for the week. The chamber for this week. My name is Mensah Opoku. Catch you same time next week on Citi TV.